Matt Rhule. Who doesn't love to hear that fool speak? Guess what though? Matt Rhule is back in the news for comments that he made about the Panthers. This is Sports Guy Talking that you guys are watching and listening to. I am Dustin Tran, your host, as I am here today to talk about Matt Rhule making recent remarks on the Carolina Panthers. Despite the fact that Matt Rhule has already been fired by the Panthers for several months, he continues to talk about the Panthers and blame them for his failures in the NFL. With Matt Rhule at Nebraska now, it is certainly interesting that he continues to talk about the Panthers, even though he has not been on the Panthers since October of 2022. Before I say anything else though, I want to present you guys with the topic question. So here it is. What is your reaction to Matt Rhule's latest comments on the Panthers? And what I got to say about this is that it is very disturbing for Matt Rhule to continue talking about the Carolina Panthers. Look, there's a lot of things that you can say about Matt Rhule and his tenure in Carolina, but one thing that is not debatable about how the Matt Rhule tenure went in Carolina was that it went nothing short of disastrous. The way that the NFL is set up, everybody is designed to go 500. In a perfect world in the NFL, you're supposed to be average, and every NFL team can go 8-9 or 9-8. Now, of course, that's not going to happen because some teams are going to be better than those records. Some teams are going to be worse than those records. But over time, you're supposed to average out around 500, maybe a little bit better than that if you're actually a good coach. Matt Rhule, on the other hand, never even crossed 6 wins in a single season, and he had 17 games to do it. It's not like Matt Rhule only coached half a season. It's not like Matt Rhule only coached a quarter of the season. Matt Rhule coached an entire season where his teams never won more than 5 games a year. His first year on the Carolina Panthers, they win 5 games, which, okay, fine. I give him a pass because the Panthers that year, they were rebuilding and Teddy Bridgewater was the quarterback. Never mind the fact that you were the reason why Teddy Bridgewater was on the Carolina Panthers, or whatever. I'll give Matt Rhule the benefit of the doubt for that season. But then Matt Rhule in his second season decides to say, you know what? I don't like Teddy Bridgewater anymore. He's not that guy, and so let me go ahead and trade Teddy Bridgewater for a 6th round pick, which, okay, fine, we can understand. Teddy Bridgewater, he sucks. He's not a good quarterback whatsoever. But instead, let me go ahead and give up 3 draft picks for Sam Darnold. Not 1, not 2, but 3 draft picks for Sam Darnold. And guess what happens? Of course, Sam Darnold was going to suck on the Carolina Panthers. He already sucked for 3 years when he was on the New York Jets. Yeah, did Adam Gase hold him back? Absolutely. Adam Gase sucks as a head coach. Everybody knows that. You know who also sucks as a head coach? Matt Rhule. At least Adam Gase took the Dolphins to the playoffs in his first year as an NFL coach. Adam Gase was able to win at least 6 games every year until his final season in the NFL. And Adam Gase is a horrible coach. Matt Rhule, on the other hand, never even won more than 5 games in a single season. You look at the record that Matt Rhule had in his first year, 5-11. You look at Matt Rhule's record in his second season, he went 5-12. And then you look at his record in his third season, he went 1-4. What I'm trying to say is Matt Rhule was a flat-out loser. And when the Sam Darnold experiment failed, guess what he did? He decided to go ahead and re-sign Cam Newton out of retirement. Cam Newton was basically unemployed. No NFL team was even touching Cam Newton within a 10-foot pole. And guess what happened? Matt Rhule decided to say, you know what? Let's revive Cam Newton. Let's get Cam Newton off the street and let's just expect him to be a great quarterback. And guess what happened? Cam Newton absolutely flopped in his 5 games for the Carolina Panthers. Yeah, he had a nice touchdown run against the Arizona Cardinals, but other than that, he was horrible for the Carolina Panthers. But that was expected. I mean, Cam Newton was unemployed for the entire season up to that point, and you expect Cam Newton to just get in shape and just play awesome football for the Carolina Panthers? What was Matt Rhule thinking, man? And to have PJ Walker as your backup quarterback for all those years, even though PJ Walker is not even that good of a quarterback, he might be a developmental quarterback at best, but yet you refuse to address the backup quarterback position, even though your starting quarterbacks were really bad for most of your tenure, if not all of your tenure in Carolina. This is why Matt Rhule sucked as a head coach. He didn't know what he was doing at the quarterback position, and most importantly, he failed to take accountability for his failures in Carolina. I'm going to go ahead and read you a quote that Matt Rhule said from ESPN. So he says, quote, "Going through the fire in Carolina was a purifying fire that melts away all the impurities, all the hubris, all the worrying about stuff that doesn't matter. I learned very much to worry about what matters. I have a focus and a desire in me. I watched what my kids had to go through in Carolina, and we're not going to let them go through that here." And I have to say, what? That's your comeback for why you sucked in Carolina? That's your comeback? You got to do a lot better than that, Matt Rhule. If your comeback is, oh, my kids are getting bullied too much at school, why should anybody ever criticize any athlete, any coach, any executive, any owner? Based on that logic, nobody should be able to criticize anybody. But of course, that's not how it works in sports. In sports, it's real simple what the end game is. You either win or you lose. Now, we understand that rebuilding situations happen, and we understand that not everybody's expectations is exactly the same for all 32 NFL teams. But come on, you guys are a professional football team. And Matt Rhule, this is not the first time that he made excuses whatsoever, because you think about after a game where the Carolina Panthers got blown out by 26 points at home in a late game in year 2 of Matt Rhule's tenure against the Bucs, and Matt Rhule's comeback was talking about it takes 7 years to build this thing up, and he was quoting Jay-Z, and he was talking about it takes time to build a winning team, even though the Carolina Panthers had shown zero progress whatsoever. I think he gets fired by the Carolina Panthers in the middle of his 3rd year, and he still fails to take accountability for what happened for the Carolina Panthers and why he sucked as a head coach, because he said that they should have given him at least 4 or 5 years. But the truth of the matter is that most NFL coaches don't even last 3 years of not making the playoffs in a row. Look at Bill Belichick right now. Bill Belichick, 6-time Super Bowl champion. He's one of the greatest NFL coaches ever. He might even be the greatest NFL coach ever. Guess what though? Robert Kraft is already saying if Bill Belichick doesn't make the playoffs this year for the New England Patriots, he's out as head coach of the Patriots. And that's a 6-time Super Bowl champion that he's talking about. It's not even as if Bill Belichick, if he misses the playoffs this year, it's going to be the 3rd straight year. It's only going to be 3 out of the last 4 years, and that owner is unhappy. And I think they're being a little over drastic. Matt Rhule, on the other hand, was on the verge of not only missing the playoffs all 3 of his years in Carolina, he was on the verge of being garbage for 3 straight years on the Carolina Panthers. Most coaches wouldn't even have gotten a 3rd year to try out for the Carolina Panthers in terms of coaching, just because the first 2 years in Carolina went really horrible. There were no signs of progress whatsoever. And Matt Rhule, the best thing they ever did in Carolina was talk, because in terms of actual coaching, he didn't do any coaching whatsoever. And in terms of acquiring talent, sure, he was pretty good with his picks, but even he contradicted that notion himself, because he said he doesn't make the picks. So who knows if he was actually the one making the picks in the 1st round? Who's to say that Scott Fitterer wasn't actually the one making the picks? That might explain why we actually had good picks in the 1st round and why we were crap in all the other rounds. And we've already heard Matt Rhule say himself that his wife made the pick to pick Chuba Hubbard in the 4th round. Never mind the fact that they already had Christian McCaffrey on their roster. So you think about that, and you think about how Matt Rhule is contradicting himself again. And this is the thing that I always talk about with Matt Rhule. It's one thing to suck in the NFL. It's a whole nother thing to just flat out lie about your tenure in Carolina, which to me is just more embarrassing than the actual product that he put out on the football field, which is pretty hard to accomplish considering how horrible the Carolina Panthers were in his 3 years in Carolina. So Matt Rhule, he embarrassed himself again. And every time he talks about the Carolina Panthers, man, it's just very hard to take him seriously. I mean, his interim head coach, Steve Wilks, a guy that has a 9-19 career win-loss record, a guy that is not known to be a good head coach whatsoever, came in and did a fine job as the interim head coach of the Carolina Panthers. He went 6-6 as the interim, and he made Sam Darnold look somewhat okay as a quarterback. I'm not going to say he looked good, but at least Sam Darnold looked passable as an NFL quarterback. But Steve Wilks didn't even have the benefit of building his own roster like Matt Rhule did. Steve Wilks had to come in the middle of the year after Matt Rhule had burned that bridge down for the Carolina Panthers and turned that team into a train wreck, and he at least made it passable. And Steve Wilks is not even a good coach either. Steve Wilks is a decent defensive coordinator, maybe. He might be decent at that, but that's about it. But the fact that a bad head coach came in and did a much better job than Matt Rhule and the Carolina Panthers, that just tells you how awful of a job Matt Rhule did in Carolina. And that quote that I just shared with you guys a few minutes ago, that just shows you how out of touch Matt Rhule was with the NFL and how to build a team in Carolina. To me, that qualifies as embarrassment for Matt Rhule. Every time Matt Rhule talks about the Panthers, you might as well just look at him with an embarrassing face, because he just doesn't know what he's talking about whatsoever. So that is why Matt Rhule's latest comments on the Panthers are very idiotic, as he has continued to not take any accountability for his failures whatsoever. Remember, go ahead and subscribe to Sports Guy Talking, like the video, and please comment down below. If you guys do that, I may shout you guys out in my Instagram story every Monday. That'll be for the @DustinTran Instagram account. Make sure to follow me on Instagram @DustinTran and @Sports Guy Talking. Also, go follow me on Twitter @DustinTran. Again, go ahead and do those things that I just told you guys to go do. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the content that was just produced. Peace out. I hope you enjoyed that video. Want more Sports Guy Talking, the home of great sports content? Make sure you click that subscribe button to get the latest from Sports Guy Talking. Go ahead and like the video, comment down below, check the description box on the video in order to follow my Instagram and Twitter. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from the YouTube channel, Sports Guy Talking.